A clothesline is a news forecast to neighbors passing by. There are no secrets you can keep when clothes are hung to dry. The line announced when the baby was born for the folks who lived inside, as brand new infant clothes were hung so carefully with pride. The ages of the children could be so readily known. How the sizes change so rapidly, you would know how much you'd grown. It also said when illness struck, as extra sheets were hung, and night clothes and a bathrobe too, haphazardly were strung. But clotheslines are now a part of the past, for dryers make work much less. Now what goes on inside the house is anybody's guess. I really miss that way of life. It was a friendly sign when neighbors knew each other best by what hung on the line. I should confess straight away that I don't know much about fashion, but I know a lot about clothes. I have been wearing them almost daily for as long as I can remember. In the beginning, of course, my mother dressed me. I was dressed like most boys are, and I came to appreciate the practical functionality of clothing. How they keep us warm in the winter, and how long pants, even in the summer, protects the legs against stickers and bug bites and sliding. I also learned that certain body parts are to remain covered at all times. At least when walking around in public. And I also learned the difference between school clothes and play clothes and Sunday clothes, and that clothes without holes was essential in certain social situations. Clothes are important, I ascertained. And we wear different outfits for the roles we play, the places we go, and with the company we keep. Clothes as text, clothes as narration, clothes as the story of our lives. And if you were to gather every single piece of clothing you have worn in your life, every baby shoe and winter coat and wedding dress, you would have your autobiography. You could wear once more your entire life in all its stages. From what you wore when you emerged from the dark red warmth of the naked womb to your deathbed.
Ito ay pakiusap na kinanta ni Rudy Concepcion. Marami pang kanta pagkatapos nito.
Huwag mong ikahiya ang pagiging isang alipin sa kasarian ay hindi iyong kasalanan. Ang mga sundalong Hapon ang dapat sisihin, tumayo at ipaglaban ang karapatan. Don't be ashamed. Being a sex slave is not your fault. It is the responsibility of the Japanese Imperial Army. Stand up and fight for your right.
All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the good Lord made them all. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, He made their glowing colors. He made their little wings. You are like wild grass, they told me. You just sprouted from soil. But I am not wild grass. I am a rose. I rose from trampled soil. I rose from dust and dirt. Why branding us with base, with baseness, bastardy, base. The base shall top the legitimate. I grow, I prosper, I rose. It was not my mother's fault that I was born out of wedlock. It would have been worse if she aborted me. I am my mother's only happiness. Without me, she would have gone crazy thinking her life was meaningless. One night, while my mother Julia was sleeping, she felt someone kiss her. He whispered in her ear and told her, "Do not shout, for only my wife and I are home. No one can hear you. My children are not here." When he was through, he told her not to tell her parents about the incident, or else I will kick your father out of my land. My mother was then only 15 years old and had just begun her period. Don Pepe is a religious man. He will not do that. I fell in love with your daughter. That is why I dared do that. Do not worry. I will take care of you and your family. I am my mother's child. My mother's hands that held me that I never wanted are my own. We are cursed with beauty. I always remembered that. And how fragile and how bony her hands were. Her resolve to use them, how it amazed me working tirelessly in the garden. I knew how much they ached. Our eyes are the same. Jade, the big slanted kind, like a cat, someone once told me. My lips are bigger than hers, and my breasts are too. That's not supposed to happen. You must have got those from your dad. My dad, I was always a daddy's girl, a tomboy, especially when I was young. And I retained traits from my father. The best things I learned from him, I wish I'd not. I learned to lie, how to spend money where it was not needed, and perhaps how to be alone. I am my mother's child. To help make extra money, I helped my uncles and neighbors gather firewood at Fort McKinley, an American reservation nearby. My uncles collected firewood, and I collected and bundled them and sold them for fuel. 11 a.m., I was gathering firewood. 2 Japanese soldiers. "Baka!" yelled an officer. I thought he was going to save me, but instead, he grabbed me and... When he was done, he passed me on to the 2 other soldiers. They took turns. When I reached my mother, she cried and told me that I was lucky that I was still alive. I was 14 years old, and I had not begun my period. I kept asking myself, why did this happen to me? Did I inherit my mother's fate? She advised me not to talk the incident to anybody. She advised me not to talk the incident to anybody. She advised me not to talk. 2 weeks later, without my mother's permission, I went with them to gather firewood. I will not leave the sight of my uncles and neighbors. When we reached the place where we went, we saw Japanese soldiers and the same officer. He grabbed me in full view of my uncles. He couldn't do anything because they would get killed. My uncles cried. They couldn't help me. My mother washed my back as if I was gone for a day and her baby yet. We will carve revenge on your back. We will write out our oaths and names. We moved to Pampang to live with my uncle, Commander Pinatubo. He is the leader of the Hukbalahap. the Filipino army is resisting the Japanese invaders. Hook meetings are held in his house. I help them gather food and medicine and collect clothes for the guerrillas. Once, there was a group formed beneath the banner of our beloved land to free from slavery the Philippines, our country. Men and women, young and old, let us join together to fight the Japanese. We must vanquish the fascist Japanese, the scourge of our race. Viva Hukbalahat! Let us shout. April 1943. My Hook comrades asked me to gather dried sacks of corn from the neighboring village. As we approached the checkpoint, the man beside me said, "Be careful. There are guns and ammunition in the sacks of corn." The guard allowed us to pass, and when we were 30 meters from the checkpoint, he whistled and signaled one of us, me, to return. As I approached the checkpoint, I knew that the guns were safe, but that I would be in danger. I thought that maybe they would. But they didn't. A guard led me by gunpoint to the second floor of a building. It was a Japanese headquarters and garrison. I saw 6 other women there. They gave me a bedroom with a bamboo bed. The room had no doors, only a curtain, and guards outside the hallway. That night, nothing happened. The following day, without warning, a Japanese soldier came into my room with his bayonet. I thought he was going to kill me, but instead he used the bayonet to rip open my dress. I was too terrified to scream. And then when he was done, other soldiers came into the room. They took turns. 12 soldiers used me in succession. Half an hour to rest, then 12 more. Soldiers lining up outside my room waiting for a turn. Every day from 2 a.m. in the afternoon till 10 in the evening, soldiers lined up outside the rooms with the 7 other women and myself. Ginamit nila kami. They used us, not like a pot of rice, not like a brush to smooth their locks, not like a salve to heal their wounds. Ginamit nila kami. Ginamit nila ako. They used me. They took us against their will, our will. They used us. They raped us. They made things of us. Binababoy nila kami. Comfort, we are called. But who will comfort the cloth when the needle burns through? My sisters, we are raw-cut pages, torn from books of poetry, thrown under the hooves of war, where they lean weapons against walls, split us and spill themselves. Red silk fantasies, we belong to the stories that brutes tell one another. Our names are lost. The sky rains them over the 7 hills of our village. We are part of the place where the animal hunts after dark. The moon, an unsheathed dagger, scrapes over the 7 hills and this house. Gunsmoke rattles my sleep. Forced to follow war, we comfort the fire riders, the sweat neck, the sake breath, divided amongst themselves, galloping over us. Who will comfort the tree after the flood has raped it? One day I will open my fist, and my body will go over the temple of 1,000 sighs, past the red canopy and those whose screams turn to glass, and I will take the boiling moon into my arms. Scald me, I will say, and these my sisters. Categorize our eyes and lips and mouths and seal our past sacred female hollows. We welcome your harm. Cast us out on the night tide, past hungers and hands, past agonies and comforts. tow us past the reef of forgetting. December 1943. And now I had served thousands of soldiers. Sometimes I would look at the small mirror in my room and see that what I had gone through was not etched on my face. I was still young and pretty. And when we weren't used, we were used. We were cooking and cleaning and doing laundry, and that is when I heard them. The Colonel and Tanaka, we will set fire to Bonbon. My mother lived in Bonbon. It was just 6 kilometers away from the rice mill where I was held captive. How was I going to tell my mother that the entire barrio would be burned? I walked to the street, and I saw an old man passing by, and his face looked familiar, and I knew he lived in the barrio. Tonight your barrio will be burned, I whispered while the guards were looking. Get out of here. After more than an hour, the Colonel and Tanaka came rushing up the stairs. He grabbed me and he slapped my face, and he was angry because when he went to Pang Pang, not a single soul was there. My eyes were bleeding, my face was swelling, and he dragged me down the stairs, and he tied my hands, and he put me against the wall, and he beat me against the iron wall, and I blacked out. January 1944. I had been held captive as a sex slave for 9 months. I regained consciousness 2 months after I was freed from the garrison. When I woke up, I was in my mother's house, and I saw my mother's face, and I wept, and I tried to speak, but nothing came out of my mouth. I didn't speak for a long time. For a year, my mouth hung open. Saliva came down my face. The mere sight of men made me run and hide. I thought all men were oppressive like Japanese soldiers. I had a difficult time speaking, and my hair started falling out. And I felt unworthy because in my mind, I had been ruined. I was dirty. I was soiled. Never, ever mistake silence for weakness. Because sometimes the air stills before the onset of a hurricane. One day, my mother's cousin came to visit, and I grabbed her hand to show some respect, and some saliva fell on her hand. She looked at me with pity. "What kind of sickness do you have?" My mother said it was malaria and high fever. She never told them what they did to me. No one knew. Only my mother. I am trying to teach myself the difference between nightmare and future, between bad touch and good touch, but all the hands feel the same. I am trying to teach my body to forget, but this skin stumbles over every flashback. My skin speaks in Braille. Tic-tac-toe across my flesh narrates the splitting of prepubescent hips in a language made of scars. Wrists whisper of sticky sweat palms and hairy knuckles. Stomach speaks of pain and pressure and please stop. Hips hint of a womb hacked hollow and what hell feels like. shoulders still shrinking around loud voices and large hands, throat twisting over limbs that have long forgotten and stopped choking me. Read about how body remembers, how memory is in your skin, it is etched across your frame. Fingerprints are written across my skin in a language made of scars. Tira ng Hapones. Not cold soba noodles, not half-eaten rolls of sushi, not day-old tempura. Tira ng Hapones are the women they used. Tira ng Hapones are the women who gave them comfort. They are the women who were captured and placed into the garrisons and raped repeatedly. When the war was over and the doors opened wide, they are the women who escaped. They are the women who are free. And sometimes, when these women would walk to see their family after getting freed, the doors would shut in their face. Mother spoke through bamboo cracks, telling them, go to the city, live with another family, carry on without us, kasi ang tira ng Hapones. And when these women would walk to the market, or to church, or to meet their families, children on the streets would throw rocks at them, whispering stories they had heard. Kasi ang tira ng Hapones. She advised me not to tell the incident to anybody. Just pray that Rosa will not lose her memory and her sanity. The doctor told my mother, or otherwise she will lose her memory and start to forget, and she will go mad. And when I heard this, I vowed everything in my power not to lose my sanity. But even my mother was thinking I was crazy because I kept muttering to myself, why did I escape? Because they might have killed me. Why did I escape? Because they might have killed me. Why did I escape? Because they might have killed me. The winds of disappointment dash my dream house to the ground, and anger, octopus-like, wraps its tentacles across my soul. I stop myself in my tracks. I stop myself and I find things that one thing can help me. I look into my memory for a child's face, any child's face. A child with sweet surprise, expectation in its eyes. A child with hope. And when I see this face, I am taken from gloom and despair and into a pleasing climate of hope. I have found that familial affection and platonic relationships can be relied upon with certainty to lift the wounded spirit and repair the bruised soul. And I am through with erotic romance until today I wore my hair down and sat in the sun. Today I barely said a word. And I let the silence roll through the trees and felt the way it felt on my skin. And liked it. Today I am something more than human. I am here, growing taller in the grass, waving through the branches and crawling with the clouds. One day my mother talked to me and she said, Rosa, I want for you to get married. I told her that I don't have affection towards men and I hated the idea of love, but she said that maybe getting married would help me forget the ordeal. Love will develop in due course, she told me. And I realized my mother's advice was for my own good. My husband and I get along well. He had a sense of humor, and in many ways we were compatible. I obeyed what he wanted me to do, and I attended to his every need. I wanted to show him that I was healed, that I was happy. For the first time since I was in the Japanese garrison, I was happy. And I remembered what my mother told me, that love develops in due course. A woman's body is the most forgiving thing. how it bleeds from the pains of humanity, only to give life to it. Rosario, my daughter's body will be made of flower in fight. I will show her how to cherish and nurture her body like a tender flower, whilst also showing her how to use her arms and legs as weapons against anyone who tries to take away from her what she isn't ready to give. She will not wilt into existence or apologize for her presence. She will not cherish her looks more than her stories. She will inherit fire as her mother tongue and water as her native land. She will have every quality I wish for and every quality I never had. Rosario, meet Rosalita. Your children are the greatest gifts that God will give you. And their souls, the heaviest responsibilities He will place into your hand. Take time with them. Teach them how to have faith in God. Be a person with whom they can have faith. When you are older, nothing you do will have mattered as much. Just when I thought I was getting better, the worst came, hitting me like a tidal wave. You expect it from savages, but you never expect it from the man you love. When I reached my mother's house through bitter tears, she told me, "Rosa, this is your fate. Always pray to God. Endure your blessings. Endure your sufferings. And maybe one day you will be happy." Jesus, you will not inherit my fate, and you will not be your father's son. This I promise you, anak. How did you do it, Lola? How did you manage it? Paano, you say, how? Paano, Lola, paano? Sa awa ng Diyos. Through the mercy of God, I have made it through the mercy of God. Sa awa ng Diyos. For 7 years, I wash clothes for other people. I do their laundry, I iron their clothes, and I sew their dresses. I have 3 employers for whom I work 2 days a week each. My day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning and ends at 7 o'clock at night. My neighbors and relatives marvel at my energy. Rosa can work like a man because she has a family to support. I work at the cigarette factory for 35 years. And sometimes, when I went to my mother and I wanted to talk about my wartime ordeal, she would take her hands and put them across my mouth and tell me to stop. Rosa, those days are past. You must look to the future and think about your children. Look forward. Forget the past. Forget it. Bury it. I write the words I cannot speak. Words held captive in the depths of my heart, silent, slow, suffocating. Words I know that I say out loud. I could not do it. Words hiding my fears and my despair. I know this to be true, that if they are heard out loud, they will be judged by other people. I will be judged by other people. I have learned that over time it is best to keep My words imprisoned, out of sight, in the dungeons of my mind. My mother died of hypertension in 1963. I was 36 years old and my eldest daughter was 16. Now that she is gone, I have no one to talk to. And the wartime ordeals haunt my memory like ghosts. I just grab a small sheet of paper and a pencil and I write. Japanese soldiers raped me. They fell in line to rape me. Then I crumple it and I throw it away. I kept my faith in God and I knew that He would not give me suffering I could not endure. I just wish that He would give me physical and spiritual strength to move on. And now I have 12 grandchildren and 13 grandchildren, and I am happy I have them. My God, they drive me crazy. But without them, I would go mad. My goodness, my laundry. Time to do this dirty laundry. Of course, Anak, I'll do it for you. Garments stained with the red of the earth, wines and berries, and a foul smell leaps over the garments. And I have never enjoyed doing laundry. I hate the rough rub of jeans across my skin. Oh, and the dirty water that remains. Oh my God. And then I have to wait for the clothesline to dry it. And afterwards, I can finally step out in them, unashamed. What do you think? Do you think we have forgotten what has happened to us? Every day we wake up, it is in our heads. Every night, it is with us again. What do you think? Do you think when we sleep, we forget? It is always with us. These memories, this destruction, even now it is here. Our stories only exist inside our heads, inside our ravaged bodies, inside a time and space of war and emptiness. There are no official papers, there is no paper trail, only conscience, only this. What we were promised. That I would save my father if I went with them. That I would find a job, that I would serve my country. That they would kill me if I didn't go, that it would be better there. What we found. No mountains, no trees, no water, yellow sand, a desert, a warehouse full of tears, thousands of worried girls, my braid cut against my will, no time to put on panties. What we were forced to do. Change our names. Wear a one-piece dress with one button that can open easily. 50 Japanese soldiers a day. Sometimes there would be a ship of them, strange, barbaric things. Do it even when we bleed. Do it young before we started bleeding. So many men, they wouldn't take off their clothes, just take out their penis. So many. I couldn't walk. I couldn't bend. I couldn't stretch. I couldn't. What they did to us over and over. Cursed. Spanked, twisted, tore, bloody, inside out, sterilized, drugged, slapped, punched. What we saw. A girl drinking chemicals in the bathroom. A girl being killed by a bomb. A girl being beaten with a rifle over and over. A girl running head first into a wall. A girl's malnourished body dumped into the river. What we weren't allowed to do. Wash ourselves. Use a condom, ask him to go away, to move around, to please stop. What we caught, malaria, syphilis, gonorrhea, tuberculosis, stillbirths, hypochondria, heart disease, nervous breakdowns. What we were fed, rice, miso soup, turnip, pickle, rice, miso soup, turnip, pickle. What we became. Ruined, tools, infertile holes, bloody, needy, exiled, silenced, alone. What we were left with, nothing. A father who has never recovered and died. No wages, scars, no house, no children, hatred of men. Smoking, booze, guilt, shame, what we are called comfort women, women of indecent exposure. What we felt, my chest still trembles. What got taken away from us, our life, the springtime, what we are. 74, 79, 84, 93, blind, slow, ready, outside the Japanese embassy every Wednesday, no longer afraid. What we want now, soon, before we are gone, before our bodies leave this world, before our stories leave our minds. Japanese government, say it. Say sorry. We are sorry, comfort women. To me. We are sorry to me. We are sorry to me. To me. To me. To me. Say it. Say we are sorry. We are sorry. Say it. Say me. See me. Say it. Please. Sorry.
Huwag mong ikahiya. Ang pagiging isang alipin sa kasarian ay hindi iyong kasalanan. Ang mga sundalong Hapon ang dapat sisihin, tumayo at ipaglaban ang karapatan. Don't be ashamed. Being a sex slave is not your fault. It is the responsibility of the Japanese Imperial Army. Stand up and fight for your right.
Anak, ako ang babaeng tinutukoy niya. I am the woman she is talking about. There are mountains growing beneath our feet that cannot be contained. All we have endured has prepared us for this. Grab your hammers and your fists. There is a glass ceiling that we are going to shatter. Let us leave this place roofless. We are no longer silent. We will fight. Laban! Laban! Laban!